What's up, everyone? Welcome to Inside Gaming. It looks like after the rough launch of Overwatch 2 and a controversial phone number requirement that Call of Duty players will now also have to register a phone number to play Modern Warfare 2, the upcoming and very anticipated next mainline Call of Duty game. That's what it is. Let's switch over, get into the headline here. Modern Warfare 2 will seemingly require a phone number like Overwatch 2, and of course this comes after a lot of controversy over that requirement for the Defense Matrix protocol of Overwatch 2 for reasons, right? They had specific restrictions about which types of phone plans were considered adequate for the registration. That made a lot of people mad, and yeah, now it looks like that this same requirement is coming to Call of Duty. We talked about this before when the announcement first came up. Blizzard is doing this to reduce the amount of cheaters there are on these games, and as well as like Smurf accounts and things, people who are, will like play at a high skill ceiling and then kind of make new accounts so they can get that elo where they can just destroy people for a lot of reasons, but also cheaters and things like that. So here it is, Modern Warfare 2 is getting this phone requirement. Where this comes from is the actual like Blizzard support page. So I'll show you exactly where it says that Call of Duty players are going to be required to have a phone number. If you look down here, this is just looks like a normal support page about registering a phone number. And if you scroll down though, you'll see right here that it says phone numbers required to access certain games. And this is news right here. There's the news. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, newly created Overwatch 2 accounts, and newly created Call of Duty Modern Warfare accounts require a phone number. So this new process is coming here. This is a little bit clipped off for y'all. Let me move that over for you. There you go. So there it is. It will be required going forward to play Call of Duty. And now it looks like that there won't be as many, due to like all the pushback. Blizzard basically pulled back on the requirement and allowed people who already had Battle.net accounts to basically skip the registration process. But for anybody who's new to the game, anybody picking up the game for the first time or Call of Duty game for the first time, looks like they're going to need this phone number. It says messaging apps like iMessage, iOS, or WhatsApp are not supported. Mobile phones with prepaid plans may not work with the phone notification service. So this is like weird wording because that was like part of the big problem. If you had a prepaid phone, you weren't able to register to play Overwatch 2. And that's kind of messed up because a lot of people have like Cricket Wireless or whatever the case may be. They have alternate phone plans so that they can have a phone and not break the bank, right? So these people were automatically excluded from being able to play a game. And it's doubly messed up if you think about these may have been people who owned Overwatch 1, had bought content on Overwatch 1 or earned content there, and now can't get access to it because Overwatch 1 has been killed. So that part sucks. Here's the third point here. Phone notifications cannot be used with voice over IP, VoIP, and VoIP numbers that are transferred to a local provider are not eligible for the service. So yeah, that's what it is. That's going to be another firestorm for them if it doesn't work right. Or, what happened with Overwatch 2 is people were trying to register their phone number. They were getting an error message saying that their account had already been registered, so they couldn't access to the game. I saw another case where somebody had an old phone number from a long time ago, had switched numbers, but the old phone number they had was what was like paired with their Battle.net account, so they couldn't get in to play Overwatch 2. So a lot of problems there. Okay, this next story, let's move on, is about Twitch. Let's read the story. We got to keep this moving. So Twitch response to controversial revenue split says 70-30 is not viable in the long term. Also working to improve intrusive ad experience. So this is content creators getting 70 and Twitch taking 30. They bumped it up to 50-50, right? So obviously content creators getting less. This story is by Ed Nightingale on Eurogamer. So Twitch has responded to its controversial decision not to amend its revenue split for streamers. At present, the split is 50-50 between Twitch and streamers. Unlike key competition like YouTube, that favors streamers with a 70-30 split. In a lengthy blog post last month, Twitch explained why it won't be amending this. Okay, so then this comes from Twitch, TwitchCon in San Diego over the weekend. They addressed the issue once again, as I'm sure a lot of people had questions about it, right? If people are trying to make it, in the streaming world, you would want that larger cut. And, some people were never even given the chance to get that larger cut because as a smaller streamer, you're only able to get that 50-50 split. So let's see what they had to say. Twitch's chief monetization officer, Mike Minton, was asked to respond to streamers upset by the news. The important thing for me is that me and my teams are 100% focused on improving our ability to make income, he said. At the end of the day, we're setting a framework for the long term so that you can all keep earning as long as possible, and the next generation of streamers can have that same opportunity. And then regarding that split, he specifically said, we did look at all possible options. Could we do it? Could we offer 70-30 widely and broadly? And the answer is no. It simply is not viable for Twitch in the long term. Now, Twitch did get some flack. I saw they did like a big like promotional stream thing with like some musical artists, and I think like Megan Thee Stallion was on there, as well as Meet Me at the Altar, this like pretty popular pop punk band. So they got like, they've been getting flack, right? Because they're still kind of ramping up their marketing arm and trying to do these collaborations, these partnerships and stuff. So they like have money to pay, you know, huge performers, but not enough money to kind of like do splits with content creators. That's just a little bit of a side. So, and again, this is from the chief monetization officer, Mike Minton, who went on to say, the other factor within the cost of live streaming is it is simply an expensive endeavor to deliver high definition, low latency, globally available video around the internet. That's our partnership. He was also asked about the prevalence of ads. If you go on Twitch at all, you get hit with that first ad, and it's also hard to be a streamer starting out because people are already clicking away because they don't want to watch an ad before they even get to judge your channel. So speaking of advertisements, Minton was also questioned on the prevalence of ads on the platform and how the experience can be improved, a major issue on the platform at present. So he said, poorly timed ads can be a bad experience, he admitted. I mean, I think most any ad in any situation is kind of a bad experience if you're logging in to watch something, but that's beside the point. Nobody wants to miss out on the action. Nobody wants to have an ad get in the way of finding a new streamer. We fully appreciate the bad ad experience is good for nobody, but it's also true that many streamers rely on ads as a predictable, meaningful source of their income from Twitch. This is an interesting statement because I think a lot of streamers, where they can, will turn ads off. So that's what it is. And that's pretty much that story. Not much else to talk about there. Twitch just kind of doubling down on this plan to go 50-50. I don't think they'll ever change it back at this point. Why would they? If they can get away with it, and it seems like they will until a lot of top content creators just start leaving for other platforms, and we might see that as like contracts expire and things. Maybe we won't see a big wave right away, but maybe later on. All right, this next story I think is really interesting. We always talk about Game Pass. It's usually in a positive light. It's a very cool service, very budget friendly, and so you wonder how Microsoft is able to pay for Game Pass, right? They're offering these games through subscription service, and a lot of people over the years have been kind of trying to do the math to try to figure it out. As spotted by Tweaktown, they saw or were able to deduce how much Game Pass made last year, basically. This headline is, Microsoft reveals how much money Game Pass actually makes. And this story is by Derek Strickland over here on Tweaktown. And yeah, let's get into it. Basically, it's $2.9 billion. I don't want to bury the lead here, but nearly $3 billion in a year, video games market as a whole. So yeah, it looks like this came out of some of the review processes for the Activision merger. Some regulators, like Brazil's Administrative Council for Economic Defense, CADE, have already approved the merger. CADE released a public document outlining its thought process on the approval and included a ton of data on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and others. So yeah, that's where this came from. Microsoft needs to get approval from a lot of different countries, from their regulatory bodies, for the acquisition of Activision because of like antitrust stuff, monopoly stuff. And so here we are. One specific figure shows just how much Microsoft makes from Xbox Game Pass on consoles. According to the data, Xbox Game Pass generated $2.9 billion from consoles in 2021. Based on data publicly available by Microsoft, Xbox Gaming generated a total of $16.28 billion in the calendar year of 2021. So it says this means Xbox Game Pass made up roughly 18% of Microsoft's total yearly Xbox revenues, which is a pretty big number. That's almost 20% there, and nearly 30% of its games and services revenues. So yes, Game Pass not only is a good service, it appears to be effective. And you're probably wondering, like, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, I thought ahead. I pulled up some figures for you. There is this article on GameSpot from a little while back in March, which reads, Xbox Game Pass, Microsoft has paid hundreds of millions to devs. And this is a story about basically how developers are getting paid for putting their games on Game Pass. Because you wonder if people are just subscribing to play these games and they're not paying developers directly, a one-time license fee or whatever, or one-time purchase for these games, then Xbox must be paying these game developers. And they are, and I'm not sure if there's been a lot of reporting around exactly how that breaks down, if it's by time, if it's by downloads or whatever, or if it's multiple different factors that determines how much money Xbox pays these game developers. But basically in this article, there was an interview with Chris Charla who kind of talked about how much they were spending. So GameSpot was kind of able to do some rough math to figure it out. And let's just get right into it. This is Game Pass. Anyways, here's the important part about this story. This is from Chris Charla, who, again, runs ID at Xbox and is in charge of kind of, partnerships and things like that. So he said, teams across Microsoft work every day to help solve discovery challenges so players can find games they love, and in turn, ensure developers find the audience for their games. We're always looking for ways to connect creators with new audiences. And then, so the ID at Xbox program currently has more than 3,000 games in the catalog. And Chris Charla said Xbox is running into the problem that Steam has had in its discoverability. Basically, back then in March, Microsoft revealed that 4,600 developers from 94 countries are signed up for the ID at Xbox program, and more than 1,000 developers have registered in the last 2 years. But in short, with a library of around 3,000 games on ID at Xbox and $2.5 billion in payments to developers, that works out to around $830,000 per game. And I'm not sure if that's just specifically for ID at Xbox games, indie games at Xbox. I'm sure there's some games that, they're paying a lot less, and some games that are bigger, they're probably paying a lot more. So that's $2.5 billion in payments. And if you do the math, that from the other story saying that they made $3 billion, you can kind of do the split there. Or if they're not, it just provides some more context here. And it looks like they're getting kind of close, at least with the numbers that we have, that they're breaking even. Obviously, they wouldn't keep doing it if they couldn't sustain losing tons and tons of money. But it's always interesting to get any bit of numbers around Game Pass and how the math is working out there. I'm not sure if we're on there. Okay, next up. 2K confirms some user data was stolen in a recent hack and put up for sale, including email addresses, gamer tags, and console details. This is not related to the Rockstar hack of GTA, but this happened back in September, I believe. This story is by Tom Ivan on VGC. He said, in late September, the publisher said its customer support service had been compromised and warned players that might be affected to change their passwords. So now we're basically getting an update that says that this information, this hack from back in September, basically did happen, and people are we're getting their data sold. So that's not great. On October 6th, 2K began contacting customers whose information had been accessed and put up for sale. And they wrote, the unauthorized third party accessed and copied some personal data that was recorded about you when you contacted us for support, including your email address, help desk ID number, gamer tag, and console details. Then they went on to say, there's no indication that any of your financial information or passwords held on our systems were compromised. Then 2K added, however, out of an abundance of caution, we encourage all our players to secure their accounts by resetting passwords, enabling multi-factor authentication if they have not already done so. So there's a malicious link that was sent, and people who clicked on the link, they said, we recommend restarting your computer immediately and using cybersecurity best practices, resetting all your passwords using MFA multi-factor authentication where available, and using updated antivirus software. Please refer to our post for additional guidance. They link to another support page. Man, this type of stuff sucks because you're just out here trying to play games, people trying to steal your data. That's a bummer. Here's a quick story. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but basically there's a developer who was at Bethesda and I think has recently left, who basically just said the Starfield team is twice as large as the Fallout 76 team. It says Starfield interview ex-Bethesda dev on scale, building a new universe. And originally I thought this was on a PC Gamer story, but I must have pulled the source from here. This is from PC Games N and by Will Nelson. And basically, yeah, that's what they said. I think let me find the direct quote here. Here it is from this developer who used to work at Bethesda. He said, but yeah, Starfield is a much bigger project. It's like 500 people or something on the team, whereas I think Fallout 76 was maybe 200 tops. So people excited about Starfield feel good to know that there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen and they're trying to figure a lot of stuff out, and that seems hard. All right, moving on. This one is interesting because I wonder what you guys think about it. This is also reported by VGC, by Jordan Middler. The headline reads, The Last of Us TV show's Ellie hasn't played the game, was encouraged not to. In this story, basically, we see this a lot. Competition almost, like this combative nature between video game source material and people in Hollywood who, just don't want to, for whatever reason, are like afraid of the source material, it seems at times. So here it is. Bella Ramsey, the actor who plays Ellie in the upcoming TV adaptation of The Last of Us, has said she was encouraged not to play the video game the show is based on. After my first audition, they asked me, have you played it? Ramsey told USA Today. And I said, nope. And they said, keep it that way. The actor, who is known for her work in Game of Thrones and the new film Catherine Called Birdie, did say that she watched some of the game online. I did watch some of the gameplay, she said, on YouTube, just to get a sense of it, she explained, but I'm so excited for it to come out. It was such a big part of my life. I shot for a whole year, which is quite a long time when you've only lived 19 years. And then if you're wondering about Pedro Pascal, who will be playing Joel, if he actually played the game, he wrote, he actually said, let's see, it's in here. Kept a similar. Okay, here it is. Pedro Pascal kept a similar distance from the source material, only briefly watching his nephew play the game. He said, I watched for as long as I was able to that day, and then I had to leave Florida, he recalled in an interview earlier this year. He said, I found Joel so impressive. I found the whole of it such visually impressive. I found the whole of it such a visually impressive experience, and then I got worried that I would want to imitate it too much, which I think could be right in some circumstances and then a mistake in others. So obviously actors, directors, filmmakers being very careful about their craft. They're worried that these actors will play these games and then just imitate what was from the game. In my opinion, I don't think that's such a bad thing. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments though. It's interesting. I think for new characters or whatever, I think this makes sense. But like these movies and shows are being based on properties that already exist. And we're running into this with the Mario voice and the Chris Pratt thing, which is a whole nother story. But you would think that you would want your character to most accurately resemble the source material. Just my thoughts. And I also can see it from the other side where it's like you want to do your own thing. You want to kind of have your own portrayal and own identity when portraying the character. I think this is more of a problem when you do like remakes of movies. But if you're remaking something from like a game and you want to see that on the big screen, I think some of us are just fine even if that stuff was like shot for shot in some cases, and you just want to be able to like show your parents or like maybe your partner or somebody who doesn't play video games like, this is a really cool thing. And I want to show you this story, but then it gets all like messed up when directors and writers say like, oh, this doesn't work for Hollywood or whatever. When actually like people just want to see like a cool show in the Last of Us universe or whatever. And we're finally here at the end. Sorry, I knew I said I was going to try and shorten this one down today. I wasn't able to do it. But here I want to leave you with, again, a trailer or something to watch after this video or something to look out for. If you have not seen Choo Choo Charles, you should. It's basically a horror game based on the Thomas the Tank Engine memes. And this story is on Eurogamer. Choo Choo Charles will arrive at platform Steam in 2 months. All aboard. So basically what happened was there was a new launch trailer today, and this game is horrifying, and I wanted to share it with you. So take a look at that. And that's going to pretty much do it for today. If you need another trailer to get excited about or something to watch, something you might not have seen before, here's Choo Choo Charles. Get ready to be terrified. I feel like this is definitely like streamer bait. I think you're going to see a lot of content creators make content with or around this game. And yeah, it's basically like a survival horror game where you get chased around by this demonic train. And it seems pretty scary. So, all right, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And for more video game news and updates, be sure to stay tuned right here to Inside Gaming.